things, and then they're going out there and taking a drink, and that's something that people should think about.
Yeah.
You know, we like even before that incident, we had already stopped drinking and going out. In fact, you know, that's what the case was. We don't go out
Yeah,
because
because
that's what happens.
Yeah, after it gets tiring
Yeah,
after a while.
and
Yeah, it's the same shit every time. You
And
just
we're
go,
grown-ups too. You know,
we're like, I was 30 at the time
Yeah.
or something like that, and you know, we're done with it. We're trying to get done with it. After that, we just keep it all together. Like it's not healthy, and you know, it's better to deal with the reasons why you want to get drunk than to just keep getting drunk. So
when Carl was talking about taking the edge off, you know, going back to why are you training? Like you're training this physical skill, right? And that's to be able to face certain challenges. But if a life challenge pops up, then you don't have the skill or the know-how to face that without dulling your senses. It doesn't make sense, you know, because in reality, those realistic everyday life challenges are going to be what you'll be facing more often, hopefully,
yeah,
than physical.
Yeah.
You know, physical confrontation. Hopefully, if you're living your life right, when you're an adult, you're not being subjected to violence on a regular basis. You know, so hopefully, like what you're trying to do is now just your training is going to help you deal with. You know, it's going to transition you dealing with these other challenges. And
real life fights.
Right, the real life
Every
fights.
day you wake up, you open your eyes, there's something going on that got to get taken care of, got to be solved. From people dying in the hospital to not having money to whatever. Right? It's all a different battle, and there's all. And
People get sick.
People get sick. You know, the way you deal with things going on, handling your emotions to stay in the fight. You know, and you know, having your people around you, the right people around you, make sure that everything is supported a certain way. It's a legit thing, because we didn't get into this in the beginning for the martial arts. We got into this to protect family people needed to be protected. Like that was the whole point of, just like they did in indigenous Philippines before the Spanish were there, or even after the Spanish were there. Like it was meant to protect the tribe. That's what we were doing. Like the part of the sparring and the martial art training is part of the fun of it. But at the end of the day, it wasn't for like yourself. It was never for yourself. You know, because I mean, look, if you could take an ass whooping, a lot of violence can be solved. You know, but some other people can't.
Right.
You know, and or some people can die in that ass whooping. So they need to be trained or need to be protected. So we were all about that. And now you take something like alcohol, and it's messing that all up. I mean, it's messing it all up. So now you're the people. You become the people that are threatening your tribe, your family. You know, so you're the enemy in the house. Most people talk about doing martial arts, and they're like, well, I do it to protect my family and to make sure. But meanwhile, if they're doing these kind of things, like you think the enemies are outside the doors, they're in the doors. You're that person. You know, so we pay close attention to that these days. And there's a lot of guys that, well, you know, as I drink, but I'll be fine, I'm good. And it's like, look, that's not our experience. Like, you know, well, I can't stop drinking, so I'm gonna have to leave. I said, yeah, then you're gonna have to leave. That's just how it is. You know, you don't believe how many times this has happened and how fast it happens. You know, people are always saying, well, I'm straight, I'm a functional alcoholic. But what has to happen in your life for you to go crazy enough to drink too much to forget that you stabbed somebody that night? You lost a child in a car accident, or you know, someone got sick and died, and now your brain is crazy and you're in complete devastation, and you use the alcohol to numb all the pain. Which I understand, man. I get it. I get that. I get it. I've been there. But now you're this guy with skill. The skill doesn't go away because you drank. You know what I mean? Like your brain will still process attacks, and you still will, if you're trained right, even under the distortion of alcohol, you will still recognize attacks coming at you, and you still may move. And I get that. I've seen it where you're drunk and you can't remember when that blade came out. I know that. I know that game. I've seen that, and especially if you're in a place where it's hostile all the time. So protocols. That's why we have them, and that's where they came from. You don't make them from nothing, because if you make a protocol from nothing, it's not a protocol. Because a protocol is a mistake that happened. Somebody got hurt, somebody died, make a protocol. And that's one of the reasons why people join the system, because they want the protocols. They don't want they like that we have them, but they want to implement their own protocols in their lives, and they run our formula, which is run off the SIOP formula for protocols, and they run it through their lives. So a lot of bad things come out of people dying. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, every day we think about that. People on the internet bring it up all the time, and we take it because it reminds us of what happened. So, but because of that, the system became, what it is right now. And people who show up to the system, they'll go on the internet and try and look for us, and they'll see people bringing up, oh, don't train with those guys, or those guys who trained the guy who killed that guy. So there's different people who look at that. One guy's like, I'm not going to train them. Another guy's like, he'll go and research what actually happened, and then he'll see what actually happened physically. And he's like, who are those guys? I need to look for them. So for every one person who says no, there's another person who probably says they want to come around and train. And same thing, we vet them out. They come to us, they train, they realize that we are not bad people. You got to realize we were going to stop. We were going to quit. We were like, we were not going to do this anymore. But then people start to show up. Now, some of the first people who showed up were bouncers. It was pretty interesting because they wanted to know how to stop that. Because the way that happened was very specific, and they wanted to know the counter to that. So we taught them. And the counter to that is just not a technique. It's an awareness from the beginning of that day. It's the way weapon people think. Specifically, there's a lot of weapons guys that have like good awareness protocols, but specifically SAG and Atienza, the way we think about blade work, it transcends all weaponry. So they wanted to learn that. They understood how to track. How do you know when this is going to happen? And we taught them that, because there's always a way to know about that. You just got to train that. You know who's going to stab you. You know by by who's. If you're looking at a bunch of guys, you know which guy's got the gun by where he stands, how his pants look, where his hands are, where he's positioned in the group. Like you can track all that stuff. It's something we were taught very young, because it's important. You need to know where the gun guy is. So that was one of the first set of guys that came through. Now, other guys came through like regular martial arts guys. Not a lot of them, but they came. They were coming around. So my brother was going down south at the time to go train the guys down south in Georgia, and I had a group in New Jersey, and then I was going up to Connecticut to teach. Now the guys down south were like some hard bouncer guys, so they were getting combat work. The guys up north where I was going to, they were getting more martial art type sparring work, because we were still trying to develop the sparring curriculum. So the guys down south got like always got up hard live blade training, and the guys up north were getting like action flex work. The guys up north, they didn't they didn't train long. They trained like 2-3 years. In our 3 years, you're just realizing what you got to change. Now if you're gonna sit and do martial arts and spar, yeah, that's cool. Like we have guys in the group that have no interest in combat, and they just want to do the martial art. That's cool. But guys who want to fight multiple opponents, know how to rig up, know how to do it. It's a different type of training. Back then it was different. There was 2 different types of training, and we were trying to hone them. And that was the interesting part about that. And then knowing that we were not going to get a lot of people to join, all right, to get the Atienza Kali running, Hamanato, and let us hang around with the SAG tactical group guys, which was pretty good, because that was starting right there at that point, and we started going on military contracts with them. We were teaching them blade work and combative stuff, and I think when we were doing naval special warfare at the time, so we were training all the team guys, and they heard about this, and they didn't take it like the way the internet took it. They took it differently. They wanted to know everything about it. They didn't judge. They wanted to know, like, all right, how did that happen? Why did it happen? Where was he standing? How did this happen? What was he thinking? How did the move go? They wanted to know everything about that.
How come no one knew everything?
Everything.
It was,
and we taught him.
Yep.
We taught him because we trained that guy. We knew what that was, and then military law enforcement started to show up. Because in law enforcement world, they deal with guys with knives all the time, but they never knew somebody get, poked once and then go.
So the other side of it, right?
Yeah, the other side. Like, these are the guys, like, it's a bad scenario, and I get it. I know you guys want to stop doing this, but you guys are needed. Like, we need to know how to stop this. And that was kind of cool at the time because we were pretty depressed at the time for this. You know, one of our brothers was going to go do 14 years, 17 years or whatever. Someone died, like, that's it. You know, like, we're done. You know, like, just wrap it up. Not because we were not going to be successful, because we didn't want to do it. You know, we wanted to stop. But all these guys that Tom introduced us to, you know, made us rethink, like, all right, maybe we still got stuff to do here. You know, that's
Because there's still lessons that we can learn from the incident, right? Even though there's a negative outcome, there's still lessons that we learn and that are valuable to other people, that you know that they could really use in their jobs. You know, like remember that in the academy, the blade awareness. We did a blade awareness. We're teaching somewhat.
We're teaching people at a police academy.
Yeah, we're teaching people. We're showing some law enforcement in a law enforcement academy. Just introduction, really, not an introduction to how
dangerous
blades are. How, you know, because in regular people don't know that. Regular people don't know. They, you know, you're taught to think that guns is the king of the hill on the street, right?
And they are.
Yeah, for a reason, right? But at the same time, they wouldn't know. Why would they know, like, how fast a blade can turn a situation, especially at a certain range? So we were able to show them that, and thankfully that it actually helped.
Yeah,
it actually
that's
helped.
Right, I forgot about that.
Right,
it actually helped. Yeah, one of the guys who graduated from the academy got into a knife thing on his first 6 months out, and because of the training, yeah, he's alive. You know, so you know things like that are starting, and we're starting to regain our you know, our momentum and our trust in that we were going to be doing this. You know, creating the system, and it's real. Like Famana Tulin used to said, like, people have bled for this. It's a real thing, real. And this is not people who bled back in the 50s, in the 40s, fighting in the jungles. Like all those grandmasters that we all looked up to, who were, you know, challenge match fighting and killing the Japanese during World War II. Not those times. Like, those guys are like superheroes to us. I'm talking about recent. Like, this is still going on, and it's still going on. It is still going on. Like, you know, it's Filipino martial arts is not a historical system. It still has real value and real combat today.
Not for us, at least.